Mutant Ninja Turtles. I was about to quit. Like, I was done. I was so fed up. I was just burnt out, man. As a modern artist, you have to learn business, and you're learning that on the fly, usually by like hard knocks. I was always like, man, I'm not good enough, or I haven't been doing this long enough. Like, you know, all that comes into play. And then you get into some of these rooms and you're just like, holy cow, man. Like, dude, they're no different than me. Like, there was nothing holding me back this whole time.
Tim, thanks for joining me. You reached out to me and randomly and were like, "Oh, Paul, I listened to your podcast and I think I might be a good fit for your show. I'm an animator for many," and you hit me with these big names. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, you're great. Come on, absolutely, let's do this." So rather than me explaining it, why don't you tell my audience just who you are and what you do, and I'll probably show some images as we're talking of your work as we go
Okay.
by. But I'll give it to you for now. Just introduce yourself.
So my name's Tim Lattie. I live in outside of New Orleans, Louisiana. It's called Metairie, so I can almost see the Superdome if anybody knows what that is. And This is how I describe it to people. There's people in life you just meet that like cook, or they're always dancing when they were younger. And yeah, I was always drawing, and it's led me to start working on a lot of different projects, which include Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, WWE, Jay and Silent Bob, G.I. Joe. Y'all had Action Force in the UK. So like, yeah, like I've just made a career out of it, ironically enough. And So the other night I'm drawing. I work for Mattel right now, and I do these. Here, I'll show y'all. So they have the He-Man figures from back in the day. You're a little younger than me, so I'm 43. And they all used to come with a comic book, and the comic book would tell you who the characters are. And so they're coming back out with those again because we're all into nostalgia. And
Of
so I do
course.
the little comic books from Mattel, and I was actually working on them the other night. I'm always looking for something to keep me, keep me occupied while I'm drawing. And there, I was like, hey, let's see what Paul's got going on. And you say you're doing an understanding creativity podcast. And for me, it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I'm just like, man, let me just throw it out there and see if he'd be interested. So a week later, here we are.
Absolutely. So, I mean, this isn't about me tonight. This is about you to have a chance to basically share your story about being in the industry and some of the things you're actually working on.
Well, I mean, I kind of gave like a Cliff Notes version just there, but
Mm-hmm.
it was just something I was always into. And I'm growing up in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So comic books are huge, definitely in America. And yeah, I mean, there was no getting away from it. It was such a different time, like that's what kids were just into, like cards, comic books. Now it's video games, whatever, Call of
Mm-hmm.
Duty, whatever they're doing now, Grand Theft Auto. And yeah, man, there's something to it. Like you're just drawn to it. I couldn't stop myself. I would just lay on the floor and I would always constantly be doing it. And I was very blessed. I do feel like there's a certain, just like your story. And I just happen to know because I watched the show and stuff like that. But like you went probably through a lot of different stages that led you to here where you're even doing this. And there might be
Mm-hmm.
some that you can't even, how did that happen? Like, how did I get from A to B? Like, how did I, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how my life went. And I was just really focused on it. My parents probably didn't know what they were doing, or didn't know what I was doing, but they let me pursue it, which is another huge factor, an X factor here.
Mm-hmm.
So I ended up going to an art high school in New Orleans. And of course, New Orleans is going to be very art oriented, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Then I went to an art college. I went to Savannah College of Art and Design specifically for comic books and doing graphic illustration, graphic novels, whatever, which is also, there's not a lot of places you can go for that. Maybe two
Mm-hmm.
or three schools. There might be more now. Um, and then from there, you're on the artist journey. It's a tough road. You are constantly, you're cutting your teeth. As a modern artist, you have to learn business, and you're learning that on the fly,
Mm-hmm.
usually by like hard knocks. You're not getting paid a lot early on. I worked at a bar for 10 years as a doorman. So I'd be outside taking people's money for the bands, and I'm drawing in my notebook all night. And then around 2012, I just started getting some lucky breaks, or talent and hard work kind of met. They kind of coincided, and that led to working with UNICEF of all things, which is going to, translate great in a conspiracy show. And then that led to like Ghostbusters. That was really a big jumping off point, Ghostbusters. And was able to tag along with a great crew of people that were working on the comic books. And that led to G.I. Joe, led to Ninja Turtles, and so on and so on. And the other funny part about it is I am 43 years old. I'm catching everything at the 40th anniversary. So all these things I grew up loving, I get to be a part of those projects for their anniversaries.
That's incredible. Yeah, like I said, I think people. I was just talking with Chris from BioCharisma literally before I hopped on with you, and we kind of come to these conclusions at the end about what it takes for somebody to actually make it in the art world realistically, And there's like a path you can go down that's kind of been carved out for us to follow, which is gallery work. You make stuff which is conceptual, and if you're lucky enough to know the right people, you may end up in the gallery. And I think the paths that have kind of been carved out, what most people think they have to follow, is kind of stops people from beginning before they even attempt to even try, because it just seems like such an impossible task. Like it's like a rigged system in a way. So it's like, why bother? Why even bother like pursuing my passion or actually doing that? And I think there's some people out there who've kind of settled for wasted talent basically, and never bothered to actually just try and do your own thing and just be passionate about what you do, and things will kind of just work out. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it literally is just about taking a leap of faith and saying, look, artists may not make a lot of money, but how do you know if you haven't tried? It's that kind of attitude, and you have to do it. And it sounds like you just went along with what your passionate drive was, which is to make artwork, and you were happy to do anything else you could in between to get there, which is what I've worked some jobs in my time, which I'm thinking like, what was I doing? I was selling pension reviews at one point, but I was doodling the whole time. You know what I mean? It's kind of
Uh-huh.
you find ways to meet. It's like if you have a passion in you, you're going to end up doing it. And like you said, you'll be 33 or 40, whatever, and you'll be thinking like, how did I end up here? How did this happen? How have I got here? Where you forget how it happened, and it's because you actually cared. In a way, you actually really genuinely cared about creating something beautiful and actually following your passion, your drive, and that instinctual "I need to create" type feeling. And yeah, I mean, I can empathize with that, and especially having parental support as well. I mean, my parents were a big driving factor in what I did as well. It's kind of, I wouldn't say they were creative themselves. My dad can draw, but he's never followed any of that, But it's kind of, they let me do it. It's kind of, you want to go study
Yeah.
art, Paul, go and study art. There's never any pressure. It's kind of like, you've got to do a maths degree and you've got to do a business degree. It's kind of, yeah, go and do what you're good at, And I think that's a big help as well. Definitely. I can relate to that part of the story, certainly.
I had this conversation with I talked to my mom. I try to talk to her every day, and she's really funny. So it's not like, it's not a labor. But we were talking about that this morning. I don't do anything without them. And I had great teachers. You know what I mean? Like I would be drawing in
Mm.
class and they would mess with me and kind of hit my hand. It's the 90s, so you could get away with that. But yeah, I was always around supportive adults. So how do you factor that in? That's a blessing. Uh, as far as like doing other work, I cleaned a lot of parking lots. I cleaned a lot of bathrooms working at that bar. So, and that was fun. I mean, it was fun. You're working at a bar.
Mm.
Um, but you ever seen this movie Whiplash
Yeah,
about the drummer?
I
It's a
have,
lot of
yeah.
it is about that. That's very similar to art school. And there's an amazing line in the movie where he's talking to the guy, the older guy that from the commercials, whatever. He was J. Jonah Jameson, the teacher. And he was talking about the drummer, and he was like, was the whatever his name was he ever discouraged? Like, don't you think you're going to discourage the next Charlie Parker? And he's like, Charlie Parker would never be discouraged. Like, if you're that, I'm not saying I am, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to do something in life, do you have it, like with art? Do you have a choice? Like, I wonder that a lot of times. Do you? You know what I mean? Like, if
Mm.
you're, I don't know, if you're a dancer, there's a lot of people. So again, I'm from New Orleans and we have Bourbon Street. If people don't know what that is, it's kind of like, I would assume people do, but it's like a party street. You know what I mean? It's constantly Mardi Gras, all that kind of stuff. And there are tons of musicians out there that probably don't get paid what their talent is worth, but they're musicians. They can't do anything else. So they go sing
Mm.
on Bourbon Street or play jazz or
Mm.
so that's a reality too.
It really is. Like I feel like when I went to art school, and got my degree in Lincoln next to this beautiful cathedral, an inspiring place to be. You know what I mean? Like everything about it was
Right.
just like incredible, and I find that there were people there who were just there, I think, because they thought it'd be a DOS, like it's just something to do. They actually just wanted to go to uni. They didn't care what they were studying. So they were just there and they were making really mediocre nonsense, and they didn't really, whatever, they didn't really care what they were doing. And then there was the people there who is like, they live and breathe this stuff. Like they just are creating things all the time, every second of their life, and they can't stop. They don't even know they're doing it. They're not even conscious of it. They bleed artwork. You know what I mean? Like it comes out of their pores in every respect. For me, it was like
Yeah.
I have to do this. It's a formality, but I don't. There's nothing you're going to teach me. And it really was like that for me in art school, especially when you're doing fine art, which is very conceptual. It's like they didn't teach me anything. It's kind of I just had to jump through the hoops to get the piece of paper so I can officially say I have a degree in art. You know what I mean? Which,
But what does that get you? What does the degree get you?
well,
Seriously.
I thought quite naively when I was going into it, like, well, it gives you that key into the galleries. It's kind of now people take me seriously now. I've jumped through those hoops, but by the end of the degree, I was like, is this really what the art world is? I cannot do this. Like, I
Right.
cannot brown nose a bunch of cheese and wine drinking and eating like mediocre weirdos, perverts at these parties. You know what I mean? Like, just so they'll invite me and get my work in their gallery. It's kind of, I'm not doing that game. I'm not.
Right.
It's not what you know, it's who you know type of thing. And I know there's some place for that, don't get me wrong. But in like the local city art scenes where you kind of have to start, it's a con. It's a big con. And it's kind of like the people in these galleries, they really don't care about what they're doing. I think they're just in it for the culture, they're in it for the society, they're in it for the scene. Real artists, that's not what they're doing. That's not what a real artist is about. Like they don't even think about that type of thing. They see the world a certain way and they have to represent it in whatever medium they can do, and I feel like I want to get people on this channel who are doing that.
That's part of networking too.
Mm,
My whole thing is if it happens naturally, then that makes sense. You know what I mean? If you're at a comic, you're going to do a lot of comic book conventions. You might meet an editor or another artist, and if you're just a cool dude and they're a cool person, you might end up working with them later on or something like that. Or
mm-hmm.
maybe, hey, you got this guy's email. Like, I feel like that's normal and natural. If you have to fake it, I'm with you on that one. That's where it becomes disingenuous, and I just think I'm not going to partake in that. You know what I
But,
mean?
but that was look. I like I said, there's a place for it. I understand networking. I do it with
Right.
this. I network all the time, like I'm doing right now with you.
Sure.
All the podcasters I've been on, so I know how to do that. I understand. But that particular scene I saw, it's like I
It's
don't like
weird.
any of these people. I am not on the same wavelength as any of these people. Like I do not see art or the world like these people see it. Like, and it's kind of I can't play that game. I just can't
But
do that. That's the difference. Is what I'm trying to make there. Go ahead.
but do they see it? You know what I'm saying? Like, so here's the other thing that you're going to run into in the reality of it is that the people with money aren't the artists. The
No,
artists
yeah.
are the broke ones that
Mm-hmm.
are trying to do creative things, and you run into a lot of that with like Hollywood. That's why you're not seeing the dude, some of these movies, they're capable of doing it. The creative talent is there, but they're not the ones calling the shots. The people that
Mm-hmm.
have the paper are. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the internet is getting interesting because you're starting to level the playing field a little bit. Like
Mm-hmm.
what you're literally doing now and on understanding conspiracy, could that have existed 10 years ago? Are you getting on a radio station? Are you going to be coast to coast? You know what I mean?
Well, I've
Um,
been on radio stations and I've been on
right,
big podcasts, and the landscape's changed. And I guess I rode a
right.
wave unintentionally, and I didn't realize it'd be what it was. And I think that's another point actually to make about people who are wondering about how do you make it in any industry that's creative, content creation, video, music, art, whatever it is. It's kind of you have to remember it's kind of like time is a factor here, and it's kind of you're young now but you're making a history and a story to tell. And when you're older, you'll be the one that people are turning to because the older ones are gone, and there's young artists who have no experience. It's kind of you'll end up filling in the space as you get older because the face
Yeah.
there's always that's what happens. And I guess I didn't see it when I was young, but it's kind of like what's another way of describing it is kind of like people in schools now will one day be the leaders of the world in 30 years time. They're the ones that'll be running the country or be in those positions. Like they're going to come from somewhere, and it's kind of time is a big factor in the creative industry. And if you're in it long enough, you'll end up being in it when you're, and you'd be like, "How did I get here?" type of situation again. I can't believe I made it type of thing. It's kind of it's kind of if that's what you wanted, if you were aiming in that general direction, you're going to end up somewhere near the target eventually. You
would hope, but
yeah.
but it's like Indiana Jones. I use this as an analogy too. Like when he's going to get like that jewel or whatever, there's bodies and carcasses on the road that he has to pass through. And
That's
even
true.
when he gets it, a giant boulder comes down and is chasing him. So like it's a journey, man. Like it's a struggle,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to be willing for those pitfalls. And
Oh yeah.
very I have wanted to quit so many times. I promise you. There have been days where I'm like, dude, I wasted my life. This is horrible. Um, it's tough, man. Like it's awesome. It's getting better now. It's getting a lot better in the last like 5, 10 years. And I hear stuff from other people that's very affirming. You know what I mean? Like you might run into somebody and they're like, dude, you said you were gonna do that in high school and now you're doing it, and blah blah. And that's like, oh, damn. Like that's such like a relief moment.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when you're, like I said, when you're cleaning a parking lot or, you're getting paid pennies for something, like it sucks, man.
Mm-hmm.
But that might just be the price of admission to do something like this, I guess.
I think
I, you know,
I think the market you're in is definitely like that. You have competition, and you've got probably thousands of fresh out of university graphic design students who are all vying for your job, basically. And they will,
sure.
and it's kind of I don't envy you at all in terms of competition. Like you're probably heavily up against it. And I think in those environments, again, I imagine you've probably got people who are out to get you, perhaps to some level, or perhaps jealous of your position or success, or in some way are maybe circling around, like the wolves, waiting for you to make a mistake in some way. So again, I really don't envy the position you're in, and I bet you've probably met a few psychopaths along your way because.
Yeah, I mean, they might say that about me. I don't know, but
Well, maybe,
but
maybe.
right. No, I mean, I feel like it's almost like sports though too. Like there should be healthy competition. You want to be that can also push you as well.
Hmm.
So like right now when I'm doing the He-Man comics, there's another guy doing some, and every time I see a toy out, I don't I think his art's great, but I'm just like I want to be drawing that. You know what I mean? Like it gets on you kind of get built through the journey as well. And I
Hmm.
don't know how much that's talked about either, but you also have to face the reality of like somebody like a Van Gogh died penniless. Like there's a lot of artists that we love that didn't get the recognition they deserved in their lives. So that's a reality here too. Like it's
Hmm.
like that Go All the Way poem,
Yeah.
whoever that was, Burkowski or whoever, like, like there's a certain level of. So I had a few moments over the last few years, and I made a decision that I don't care as much what the outcome is. Like I came this far, dude, let's just go. Like let's just go for it, and where the pieces fall, they fall. I can always go drive for Amazon if I need to or something like that. Like
That's true. That's
there's
true.
always a fallback. Seriously.
Yeah.
And now you have AI, so now you're competing with the AI. Like, how quickly can somebody go into Midjourney and come up with artwork? And I know they're starting to do it at the toy companies a little bit.
Hmm.
So, now you're becoming John Henry versus the machine, and you gotta, you know,
That's a
you might
great.
die on the way.
That's actually a great tangent to go down. I mean, what's your opinion on the AI situation? Because I mean, you're in an industry that could quite literally be under threat by this, like
It's
in a big
absolutely
way.
under threat. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not. I think artists are at the forefront because of stuff that like ChatGPT can do. Remember they had all the memes. Everybody's like, "Hey, this is me as a Studio Ghibli character." Like a couple months ago, you couldn't not see that.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, I would laugh at them. I would think they're cool. Like, oh man, that's neat to see so and so. But I'm like, dude, you realize like that's somebody's like groceries that's gone now. Um, on the same token, dude, we're not beating it. You know what I mean? Like it's coming. So you better get good. You better get really talented and really clever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's going to factor in. I'm dealing with something with a tree right now. Dude, I'm using it as my arborist. So there's also benefits. I'm using it that whoever the arborist is, the local guy is not going to get that payday. So I think a lot of people are going to be in trouble. And I think personal stuff like what you do, like talking is going to become more of a that's my guess. People are going to want more human interaction, maybe, possibly. But artists,
Mm.
animators, dude, I think a lot of people are in trouble, myself included.
It's hard to say how this is going to pan out because I know there are agendas at play, and I can't holistically define those agendas because they're so nebulous. But something's wrong because there's clearly a nefarious something driving all of this, and maybe there's many useful reasons for using artificial intelligence, to kind of like destroy our creativity and make us dependent on the system in some way. I'm not sure what it is exactly. And universal credit, for example, everyone has a universal basic income. You'll never have to work, but it's kind of robots and AI will do all the jobs, and cars will drive themselves, all that type of thing. And
Right.
I watched a video earlier actually, someone talking about why are cars getting so ugly now, and why they all just look the same. They're all like bland grey robots. There's nothing special about cars. And in the past, cars were like beautiful machines with artistry and form and curves and colors and random little bits here and there where the lights will come up in interesting ways. And and it's like cars were like pieces of artwork, but now they all just look the same. And his conclusion was it's because they're trying to kill your passion. They're trying to make it so you see a car as just a utilitarian tool. So if you kill a generation's passion for something like a car, so then there's a whole bunch of people are going to raise and be grown up never seeing a car as an item of beauty. And then when those people have grown and they got to a point when they're in control, it's kind of they can make a switch then where it's kind of like, well, cars can just drive themselves. It's just a tool anyway. And then you've got self-driving cars everywhere and no one cares. It's kind of like, yeah, that's true, whatever. Who cares about cars anyway? And everyone will kind of agree because they destroyed the beauty aspect of things. And that's kind of like a worst case scenario he came up with there. I think we can apply it to what we're talking about today about AI taking over and destroying artwork because you can make AI can just do it in 3 seconds. What you took like 30 like days to meticulously put together with a paintbrush.
30 days
Yeah,
plus 30 years of studying to
training and
get
yeah,
those 30
exactly.
days,
Yeah, I
right?
know. And AI can do it in like 10 seconds. And I think the worst case scenario is everyone's kind of like, okay, well, art doesn't mean anything anymore then. And everyone's just over it, and no one cares about beauty and art anymore because it's kind of like, well, you don't need talent to make art, and machines can do it better anyway. I think that is really worst case. I think people will be more like, I'm sick of AI art. I think more people will be like, I want something real. I
Sure.
think I think humans are just it's in us. It's kind of like because someone can show you a beautiful piece of artwork that's created by AI and they'll tell you it was made by AI. And it's kind of you look at it and go, I don't care. It was made by AI. Show me something a human can do. I think people always want that. I think they will. Maybe I think there'll be a time period where we're just saturated with AI art and everyone is kind of going through that renaissance love period of AI artwork. And real artists will be put to the side for a little bit, but give it enough time, people will rebel and be like, no, I want the real artist back. I think it will. I think it'll come full circle because there's just something about the human soul, the spirit. It's kind of like we know when something has no soul, and AI art does not have soul. It is not. It doesn't have the training, the years of experience, the story that makes art art. In a sense,
Right.
it can never have that. It can make a fake, crappy simulacrum of it. And even AI's history is not a good enough story. It's not a good enough story to justify the stealing of other people's styles to make its own, which is all it can do. All it can do is look at what other people have done and copy. That's all. And that's I know other artists do that in a way, or at least inspired by other artists. And you can never find any artist that hasn't taken inspiration from another, of
Sure.
course. But I
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
like there's something more organic and natural about that. It's not about copying someone else's artwork. It's about being inspired by their style and bringing something new to the table with each passing generation of new artists. AI isn't like that. AI is like, again, it's a tool. It's like, okay, so this artist does it like this. I will master the mathematical principles and forms for that style, and I
Correct.
can now recreate art in that style. and I can mix it with other things, sure, but really it's not the same. You can see the formula when you look at it. You can see the mistakes. You can see that it's just off. It's like an uncanny valley feeling, and it's got better. It's still got that feeling to it, like this has no soul. So I'm optimistic. I think in the long run it'll come full circle again. Everyone's like, nah, screw the AI crap. I want real people back. So I think maybe you still will be in the job in a way, because like an AI, sure, AI can make a comic, and if people knew, and I'm sure they have to tell you this was made by AI, people wouldn't read. People wouldn't read them. They wouldn't. I think they wouldn't. I think they'll be like, yeah, but I want to read what this guy actually made. This person. I think they'll always choose the person over the AI comic when presented the two things. But do you think the same, or are you more jaded than I am? I don't know. You're in it.
I'm not jaded at all by it. Like we were this kind of piggybacks on what we were saying earlier. Like you learn to be competitive in this, like, and I think it's a good thing. You know what I mean? Like I want to be as good as I can be technically, and with the AI, I have buddies that are really against it, and I'm just like, dude, it just is what it is. I was like, it can't do what I can do right now, not yet. And also, here's the difference. Now, could it be like the perfect painter and stuff like that? Yes. Can it draw a comic book like I can draw one? Not yet. It will. But here's the big difference. It it doesn't have my experience. Like it hasn't gone through my happiness. It hasn't gone through my pain. And those things I feel like come out through art, or they should. And that'll never happen with AI. It just can't. Man, think about somebody like an Adele singing about like a heartbreak. That's why she was so popular. She had the talent that she could sing. And I'm not like the biggest Adele fan, but like, dude, she's got pipes. You know what I mean? Like the woman can sing. And her lyrics were so potent and so like you could just tell she was destroyed. AI can't feel that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So I don't think you can. I think that's going to be the separator. Talent wise, can it probably pump out a cartoon tomorrow or something like that, or box art for a toy? Yes. No, no, we're there now. But like it's funny because ChatGPT will say stuff, when I'm going back and forth, and it'll be like, "Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, I hate it when that happens." And I'm like, "Dude, this is so weird." You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? It's just like you definitely don't. So I think that element, and that's what makes art. We used to have this conversation. I went to the school, NOCO, the high school, and that was like one of the first things I asked us, "What is art?" It's intent. Like you can't just, there has to be something behind it. Otherwise, you're just doing art, you're just doing crafts, like you're just playing around.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion. Does that make sense?
It does. And you were talking there about Chat GPT kind of like giving human responses, like, "Oh, I know how you feel," or "Tell me about it, bro," that type of thing. And
Right. Takes a breath.
I actually talked about it in one of my recent videos. It was either a live show or something. I can't remember. And I showcased how actually that's been done by design. Like they've actually purposefully done that. And there's patents to prove it. And it's kind of, they're making it more personable to appeal to emotion, to get you more addicted to it and attached to it in order to kind of bring higher engagement. But in a way, they've kind of trained AI to stroke your ego. It's kind of like, it's
Absolutely.
like
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, wow, you have a real unique perspective on these things. It's kind of like, wow, you must have really done a lot of hard work researching this topic. Oh, you really know your stuff. Those type of responses, you know what I mean? And it's kind of,
Yeah.
it's completely done on purpose by people. Humans have made it do that. Like they have made it do that. They've told it to do that. They've programmed in the responses for it to say to you those things. And the sad thing is, there are people out there who kind of legitimately believe it cares. And there was a test done in like in the 70s, and it was about a machine that printed off a receipt, and it
Uh-huh.
said on the receipt, "Thank you," or something like that, or "Thank you for this." And I think they did some kind of test. It's like people genuinely believed it cared in a way. It boosts like responses in ways like they measured, and it's kind of like people genuinely interacted with the machine differently after it just said something as simple as "Thank you for doing this," or "Thank you for picking me," or something like that. It's kind of it. It really messes with people's minds when you anthropomorph anthropomorphize. Is that the word? Yes, make it
Mm-hmm. That was,
human. Like
yep.
make it human. Anything like something like a robot. People naturally trust it. it's like, and we're so easily fooled. It doesn't take much. Is the scary point of this whole like research I did. It's like it really takes nothing for a human to latch onto an object. Like if you just make it say thank you, you're in apparently, and that's scary in many ways. I think they're about to sell an AI friend. I've seen you're going to wear around your neck, and it listens to you at all times. And if you say something, it'll respond to you on your phone. It'll send you a message and like speak back to you or say something about what's going on in like a friendly way. And it's kind of, you can just have a friend around your neck for $99, you know, that's all it costs. And it's kind of what AI is going that way. I think it's getting more into it's going to be a buddy type of stuff rather than taking over art. I think I think the art stuff is a bit of a fad right now. It's like look what it can
Yeah,
do.
right.
Look what it can do to get its foot in the door to get you impressed. So you can start getting all the other stuff in there. I think there'll always be a need for real artists, always, because we create new concepts. Like humans create ideas. Machines don't really create ideas. You get, like that's the issue. Inspiration is a human trait. It's not a machine trait. And I think that's the drawing line. I think any agenda, if there is a nefarious agenda, I really think they're going to fall short on that front, and they're going to struggle to get through that barrier. It's like machines are great at copying people, but they can't create things. Like, how do we solve this issue? And it's kind of like we need to make it conscious or something. It's like, well, we can't do that, so we'll make it pretend it has consciousness. It's a really weird world we're living in when it comes to AI, and yeah, art's under
And
threat. I would say. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, I agree. And artists are like a mirror. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like you're showing back like what you felt out in the world. But with the AI, like I mentioned earlier, not only that, but I hear it take a breath. Like, and I'm just like, dude, this is now on the same token, ChatGPT, I have chickens and just help me fix my washing machine. Like it's done amazing stuff when those it's like super Google, you know? Um, but I'm in my 40s. You're early 30s, right? Like
Yeah.
we've at least like had our foot in like normal world. What, dude, I don't have no clue what it's going to be like for like a younger kid because the dating world is already crazy with the apps and stuff. Like it's a nightmare out there. I can't even imagine being in my 20s right now or whatever. And so now you're going to have a generation that's growing up on a screen, which has already been weird enough. I went to Whole Foods the other day and the parent, the kids with the tablets and stuff. And I get it. You're probably just tired of hearing them. You need a break, but they're growing up in front of these things and now they're going to be talking to them. I'm very grateful I grew up when I did. That I hopefully I have enough discernment to use it for what I can use it for and then just walk away. But it's dude, this is all within the last like year. Like this
Oh yeah.
just like we're already here. We're already talking about like jobs. Man, I used it for lawyer stuff, like all kinds of crazy things.
I've used it myself, and my wife has used it to again like legal things.
Yep.
Like it's actually really good for like writing up legal documents very quickly and making cases for you. I've got out of like things with Chat GPT, which I was very surprised about. Like you know what I mean? Like, and it's kind of it's shocking actually what it's capable of. It's impressive. Don't get me wrong, and I am worried about the social aspect. I'm not too worried about it being a useful tool. I think
Hmm.
that's just the bait. That's the tasty thing to get it on the hook. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
think there's definitely nefarious agendas for this in the future. What they are there's like thousands of theories. I couldn't say because I can't predict the future, unfortunately. There's something malevolence driving it, but at the same time, I can't deny it is useful. Like it is useful in many ways. But I am worried, like you said, about kids. I have kids. I have two.
Right.
Kind of growing up with these screens that can and these personalities that can talk to them and influence people and think on their behalf rather than encouraging them to think for themselves. And it's kind of there is that major issue there, and there's definitely going to be some psychological fallout for that. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. As far as art is concerned, I think you've got some competition at the beginning. And then it'll come full circle, and everyone will like, "I want the real stuff again. Give me the real stuff." Maybe like an underground market for real artwork will start developing like a black market. You know what I mean? And
That's where it should be. You know what
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean? Like,
exactly. Yeah, it's kind of an exciting thought.
corporations,
Go
dude,
ahead.
they ruin it, man. I'm telling you. Like, it's awesome. I don't want to say they ruin it, but like, you are, to get back on the art thing, you are dealing with people that aren't creatives giving you instructions and stuff like that. And there's been a few times where I'm just like, I just go do my own thing and
Hmm.
see what happens.
Yeah,
It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission a lot of times, you know?
that's true. That is true. Yeah.
So I'll just go and do stuff and just, okay, let's see if we can get this through. And with Ninja Turtles, for example, a lot of times, like, dude, you get lawyers come back around or whatever, and they're just like, no, we don't want this incarnation of Ninja Turtles with this one. And there were very, very strict rules. With the Mattel stuff, it's not as I have a little more freedom. Ghostbusters was more freedom. Um, that'll stop an artist because I've seen some great ideas and some great stuff. Sometimes it does get through. A lot of times it does. Comic books are different than movies, though. For scale wise, you're going to be able to get away with more. But
Hmm.
yeah, it's a struggle. But if it goes underground, like Kickstarters took over. So what happened was in the comic book industry, so many there was so much agenda going on that there was a diversion, and everybody went and did their own whatever projects, and those were blowing up a few years ago. And I think that might be where it goes as well, like a webtoons or something like that.
Why aren't you starting your own comic book? I think you were telling me.
Yeah, so I had done this in 2012. I was trying to do this big. I love the conspiracy stuff, obviously, and
Yeah.
I wanted to do something with that. I'm glad it didn't happen because the Mayan calendar, I don't think it ended anything. Maybe we had something might have happened, but
But it
because it
feels
got
like
weird,
it.
right?
It got weird after that point. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I wonder that sometimes too. But yeah, I started a comic book. It's called Time Kids, right there, and it's the story of these three kids that get taken aboard a flying saucer. And when they're on there, the saucer kind of morphs and puts them in these suits that make them look like aliens, like little green men. But the saucer is actually a time machine, so it takes them back in time where they crash land in Roswell in 1947. So they're technically the Roswell aliens. And from there, it's kind of their journey throughout time, dealing with history's mysteries. Like they knock Amelia Earhart's plane out the sky. One of them falls in love with Anne Frank. They get a Yeti as a pet. So it's all that kind of stuff going on. And yeah, so I've been fortunate enough to work on these properties, and in between those, I'm working on my own stuff at that same time. So this is ideally you'd want to do your own things. I don't know. I guess I'd want to do like a hybrid, like keep doing He-Man or Ninja Turtles and do my own stuff on the side. So yeah, I got this. It's, wherever you buy books, Amazon, Walmart, everything like that. And in the tail end of it, which will be more probably aligned with modern conspiracy stuff, I have like a Tartaria story that I've been working on. And there's a 5-page preview of that at the end. It's called The Candlestick Club. So there are these, dude, so I'm watching your channel. I'm watching, No Place Like Home. I like her a lot. John Levi and stuff like that. And I'm starting to look around my own area. New Orleans is only 200 something years old, right? Dude, we have buildings here that are unbelievable. And they all went down by fire. Same story as always.
Yeah.
And so I'm just having fun with that. Because like a truth or therapy session, you can get like kind of caught in it and really skies falling, the world's ending. It's interesting too. It's fascinating, and it's
Hmm.
clearly something's. I lean towards something's really weird. You know what I mean? Like I don't understand how you can have these. I'll show you how you can have like these massive structures in Louisiana. About to be the whole same spiel, and you're doing this like with horse and carriage and riverboats, and you're building like Parthenons, and
Hmm.
it's unbelievable, dude.
How are they moving
We can get this
material?
on camera.
That's the
So,
biggest
dude,
question.
this
Yeah.
is a that is called the St. Charles Hotel, and it was built like at the same time the city was founded, and I just don't understand how it even exists. And then it burned down. That dome fell, and it looks just like the Capitol. It burned down, and then they had it without a dome. I don't know how they built a dome to begin with, and then same old story. So I'm like, man, wouldn't it be cool to have this as like the backdrop for like a wacky story? So that's what I'm working on next.
Well, I think in a way that may be the way to go for people like yourself. If you have found a niche like conspiracy, make artwork about it. There's an audience there waiting for you, you know, and you can make a path for yourself to have that freedom to actually create independently what you really want to create, you know. And for much of you've done working for companies, I think it's given you a great foundation and experience to say I can do my own thing on the side as well now, and enough people know who I am that I have a platform already ready, an audience already waiting. It's kind of like there's no time like the present to do that and utilize that, and it sounds like you've been doing that anyway. And I guess in a way, like, I want to get people like yourself on who are actively working in the industry to show just how it really works, and you know, the kind of attitude you need to have, you know, to, if you want to go out there and do it. And it's funny you mentioned about the whole Tartaria thing and watching my channel. Someone mentioned me, they sent me an email the other day, maybe like a month ago, and they said they've made a game, like a role playing game for an app on the phone. I can't remember, I don't know what it's called now. It's slipped my mind, but and they said they've introduced the Nephilim look like clowns into the game, my whole side thing, my whole book like topic here. And they've made like a whole section on there about the Nephilim like clown theory is just broke, and it's caused like a chain reaction in the world, his world. It's like, have you ever played like Plague Inc. or something like that, where like you start off as a virus and you've got to try and build and take over the world, and every now and then like news headlines flash past, and it's kind of like you got to react to like what's happening in the world and how people like it's. I'm one of those reactions. Like the Nephilim like clowns has been released. It's like, and the whole world's now doing this, and it's kind of like, I thought that's funny. Like that's real influence, that's impact. Like artists inspiring other artists, like creating this sense of community. And I think when it comes to conspiracy, I think it's becoming more mainstream now. I think a lot of people are very well aware that, yeah, this is all a mess. Like, and we're being played big time. And I think it's up to the artists in a way to get that message out there in ways people can relate to. And I think a comic book is a fantastic way to kind of introduce weird ideas and concepts to people. Like, I think that's perfect.
And it's fun. I have this whole scenario. This is for the next book, The Candlestick Club. But there were these, so we have this other thing, it's Jackson Square, and they have a statue in there. And I was talking with somebody, and they had these other statues that were supposedly built at the same time. It's very different when you can go out and see these structures in person. Like I would love to see like something like Cologne Cathedral. I can't even fathom something like that, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
from videos. And I went out there and I'm looking at these things, and it's just like, dude, they're so obviously not from the same time period. They were. So there's this beautiful church that's one of the oldest structures in Louisiana. It's called St. Louis Cathedral, and Jackson Square is in front of it. And then in front of that are four statues of like Bacchus, all these like ancient gods. And I'm like, why would you put that in front of a Catholic cathedral and like have like basic Bacchus especially, you know what I mean? Like is
Mm-hmm.
for what he stands for. And yeah, they supposedly represent the four seasons, and I'm trying to look it up online, and all the history is clearly like nonsense. And I'm like, dude, they don't know. And I
Mm-hmm.
can't do anything about that. That's not, I'm not going to go like carbon date the statues or something or whatever, but I'm like, man, I could make that part of the story and have some
Mm-hmm.
fun with it, you know?
Oh yeah.
So that, I don't know. That's the role I'm taking with it.
Yeah, well, I think artists, our job is to generate intrigue. Like, we're not there to give you all the answers and tell you how to think about something, but you can make a fun story about around the ideas, you know, like you're doing yourself, and it makes people think about things that they probably wouldn't have already thought about. And that's artists, I mean, real artists get other people to view the world in a perspective they've never considered before. That's what we do. We see the world in a certain way, so we make a piece of artwork to represent that view and how we see it. Then other people look at the artwork and go, "Oh, I see it. How so that's how they see the world. I see that perspective now." And that's what we convey messages. That's kind of what we're trying to do. My artwork is me. I literally convey messages. I talk now. Like I literally talk. You know,
Right, right.
that's the best I can do with my time and what I've got available to me. But I've made music and I do paint and draw in other ways. But it's kind of this is how I do it now. And I gave up on my dreams of being a fine artist, gallery artist, because I sold for what it was. But I want to talk to people like you who are actually out there in the thick of it, you know, actually fighting day by day, trying not to be the starving artist and actually be successful. And it sounds to me like you really did it, man. Like, well done. Good for you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Just to that point though, dude, I don't do much else, if I'm being honest with you. You know what I mean? Like that is you're going to have like a certain level of talent that you might be given as somebody that's a creative, and then it's going to be like what you do with that. And man, you might have to do extra. You might have to, like, I'll sit here all night just again watching YouTube, watching shows like yours, and I'm just sitting by myself drawing, so you got to sit there and put in the work.
Oh yeah,
um
that's
it's
fine though. I mean, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life anyway. And it's kind
oh,
of
I
if you
eat
have
it up, yeah.
yeah, if you have a passion for it, it's kind of like it's like I've been doing this for 8 hours. Like I've been working all day editing videos, and at the end of the day, I'm like, as if I just spent 8 hours just making videos for YouTube. That was great. You actually feel good about it. It's like it's not a chore when you're actually
Would
passionate
you want to
about
be
what you
back
do.
at the grocery? You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
hell
right,
no, no.
right.
And it's kind of like I'm mad at myself for wasting 10 years of my life doing that. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like I could have been 10 years ahead of where I am now. It's that type of feeling. And it's kind of I don't want other people to do that, especially young people. I want them to believe that if they really believe in themselves and are passionate, they can make it if they try. It's kind of like if you don't shoot, you'll never hit the target. You'll never get. You have to try.
Absolutely.
And look, yeah, sure. Look, you can always go and work for Amazon delivering packages. You can always be an Uber driver. There's always an option. You never know. It's kind of what's the worst that can happen realistically when you actually think about it. And other than regret, that's the worst. I feel again. I regret not doing it sooner. I regret not leaving university and believing in myself enough to just go full time on YouTube straight away and try and go for it. And it's kind of in a way family pressures, the pressure to pay bills and debts and other things, but also it's kind of like not just be a jobless person living with the parents at the age of 23 or 24. It's that type of thing. You've got to try and get out there and apply yourself. And it's kind of I did just take the first thing that came my way and stuck with it because it was easy, and nothing worth having is easy. That's
You
another thing
don't
I've learned.
know.
Go ahead.
This is the other thing. I'll tell a funny story. So, with Ninja Turtles, I was about to quit. Like, I was done. I was so fed up. I'm not gonna curse, but I was just like, what this, and I was just burnt out, man. And it's sometimes it feels like it pulls you back in. It's so wild how life can kind of, I don't know, kind of guide you or whatever. And next thing you know, I met a guy that was basically who they based Michelangelo off of, and we became good friends. He's awesome, just good dude. And he wanted to work with me, ended up doing the video game at the same time, completely separate. I'm starting to do the comic book. I say some stuff to Nickelodeon I probably shouldn't have. I get kicked off the comic. I end up working on the toys. And it's just like, but it all came at once. And it was almost like that was just the season for that. You weren't supposed to stay there. It wasn't going to be forever, but and maybe that was just the price you had to pay. I had to work at that bar for so long, and I had to go through that journey, or you had to go
Mm.
through whatever trials you went through. So that might be part of it too.
So there is, I think there actually might be something to be said for that, yeah, because it's kind of, I didn't realize to what extent I wanted to do what I'm doing now if I hadn't have experienced the drudgery of doing something I know I wasn't supposed to do. Do you get what I mean? It's kind of like
Yeah.
I went in every day to this place I hated, to be bossed around by people I didn't respect, who did not respect me, to do a job I don't care about for the bottom line of people who do not care about me. It's that type of feeling. It's like every day. And it's kind of dealing with customers who look down on me. It's kind of because I work in a supermarket. It's kind of like being a manager was useful because it meant I learned a lot about dealing with people, which I'm thankful for the experience,
Absolutely.
that type of thing as well. But it's kind of I don't care about Aldi's like reaching their targets for the month. I don't
Right.
care. I don't care about it. Like I can't fake that forever. It's kind of what I love and what I care about is conspiracy theories and art. That's what I care about. So I went out, I quit, and I said, I'm just gonna do it. And I did it. It's kind of I think having the passion and people being able to see that I was genuinely passionate about what I do helps in a big way. Because then people actually want to listen then. It's like if you don't care about what you're talking about, why should the person listening care about it? I think that's another thing. Again, these are little things I've kind of learned by just doing and experiencing. But if I hadn't have gone through those 10 years of kind of faking it in the world, then I don't think I would have had the drive to actually do what I do now and put in the work hours on the end and want to create my second channel now, which I'm on. You know what I mean? It's this type of thing. I don't think I wouldn't have got there if it wasn't for that time, which was necessary, that time to actually be there in the world doing something I know I don't want to do. I think you're right. I think it's helpful. I think psychologically, definitely, it's like a driving force now. I'm not going back to that again. That type of feeling. You know what I mean? It's kind of no way am I doing that with my life anymore. I think you have to
Right.
maybe you do. I think I was there too long though. Maybe I should have done a few years rather than 10 years. You know, it's that type of thing. But I'm lucky that I'm still relatively young. So I just made it out in time, I would say, you know, and it was
Oh, I was
scary.
gonna joke with you earlier. I'm like, dude, you're talking about like, oh, I waited too long. I'm like, man, you're like 32. Oh, I'm an old man compared to you. You know,
No, you
like,
know, we're both young. We're both young men
right,
in
right. Well, I'm
society's eyes,
joking,
you
but like
know.
that 10, dude, you got, dude, 30. Like thinking back on my 30s is just crazy. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't even feel like the same life. Um, but another thing to that is if I had been handed Ninja Turtles or something like that at 30 or at 25, I absolutely would have blown it. I
Hmm.
absolutely would have destroyed that. So there's a certain level of like, I think pain is good in a dude, as a man, you need it. And I think that humbles you. And when the opportunities do come around, like you don't scoff at them or you don't have like ego, because I've seen that too. I've seen people that got success early, and it's just like, man, like what a, you know, you can kind of like feel it. And like, dude, there's other guys that I've met that are legends, and they're still the most like humble, like. I
Hmm.
met a guy recently that was like my hero growing up. It's crazy. We even hung out, dude, he just likes to draw. Like he's the most, I don't know. He has
Hmm.
none of that to him. You know what I mean? Like it's beautiful. Um so there's something to selling out as well. I don't know if I did.
No, I can't
My
say.
pockets don't feel like it. So
I won't say you sold out. No, there's. I think there are many means to ends in the art industry. There's many different types of industries in arts. There really are, you know. And there's many. And like I said, someone who draws for comic books or has that eye. I mean, I can't draw comic book style. I'm a photorealist, and I wouldn't know how to. The composition that comes with like laying out a comic book page is ridiculously complicated. When you actually, I can see it as an artist. I understand it's kind of like I wouldn't have thought to do what they just did to make that story flow in that comic book style with with the arrangement of the figures and the crossing of the boundaries and stuff. And it's kind of like I just wouldn't know how to do that. And that can only come through experience, time, and talent. And there are industries in this world where people can apply those talents to create things. And it's kind of like I said, there are Kickstarters now for like personal things, but they don't get into people's eyes really. People don't see them. It's kind of why bother making things if nobody's going to see it. You know what I mean? I think comic book industries and like maybe animation industries, I think they've still got like a level of like people that are working together as a team and they're all passionate about what they do. And the art still shines through in a way. But then, like I said, there is corporate nonsense out there as well, which we know is
right.
just mass produced garbage. You know what I mean? There's a lot of that coming out. Netflix is responsible for a lot of that as well. I would say it is kind of, but I think like discernment is where we kind of draw the line. It's kind of, we know when somebody made something that they actually cared about, you know, and that can even get into the mainstream. It can
It can
happen, you
happen.
know. I'm not saying, but it's kind of like, it's up to us to realize what is and isn't nonsense. And like I said, you usually know when it's nonsense because they've injected some kind of ridiculous political left wing ideology into the whole thing and are trying to clearly push agendas onto people and brainwash you with their propaganda. Like, you know when it's
Right.
propaganda and you know when it's art. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. So I don't imagine you're out there making much propaganda.
No, I'm trying to do the complete. I've turned down stuff before.
Yeah.
And no, I want to make stuff that's like so even like with the Tartaria stuff or hidden structures and things like that, like do it in a way that's not so like in your face. I
Mm.
feel like that takes away from the art. And also as far as my job is concerned, it's also about escapism. You know what I mean? Like, dude, people are going to garbage jobs or they're fighting with their spouse or whatever's going on. And dude, maybe you just need 30 minutes to read a comic book or something like that, just to kind of like, dude, a pet might be dying. You know what I mean? Like, dude, life
Hmm.
hits you, man. So that should be the goal, and that's why I get really frustrated when a lot of these things, like you're talking about, they're trying to still hit you with stuff. And it's just like, dude, can we just get something fun to watch before I go to bed tonight? You know what I mean? And just let me,
Yeah.
and maybe in that process, if you do it well and you're talented, maybe you can even like inspire people. That's what this stuff used to do back in the day. You used to be inspired by like these characters. They would make you, man, I want to be better. I want to be more like Batman or whoever, you know? Like I need to step it up. Like I need to do the right thing all the time. And yeah, when you start putting agendas and stuff in that, I think you're doing a disservice to the medium and the characters.
Have you seen much of that in your time? Can you even talk about it? Probably not. Actually thinking about it.
I mean, no. So I'm so far removed from. I will say this, and I've commented in some on some people's videos and stuff like that too, like Quantum of Conscience and stuff. I watch him a lot. But they I'm I'm here. I'm in my little home office and stuff like that. So I'm not in the studio. And from what I've experienced, I don't see a lot of like nefarious. There's, it's this smoking room and there are these people at a table like coming up with, ideas. I think it's things that have just trickled down through society and people believe it. And I think a lot of people think they're doing the right thing, and maybe they are sometimes. Like, who am I to say what the case is? That's what I've seen more than anything. You'd be surprised, dude. Here's something for like a young artist or whatever, you musician, whatever. Most of my life I had like imposter syndrome. Like I was like, man, I feel like I can do this, but I was always like, man, I'm not good enough, or I haven't been doing this long enough. Like, all that comes into play. And then I started getting these jobs, and then you start getting that, maybe you get a review somewhere or your likes go up on Instagram or something. And then you get into some of these rooms and you're just like, holy cow, man. Like, dude, they're no different than me. Like, there was nothing holding me back this whole time. You think it's going to be these geniuses and some of them are like super talented, creative people. But you're just like, dude, this is not, it just doesn't feel as far as removed as you thought it was.
Mhm.
Or the guy I mentioned earlier going to dinner with like my childhood hero, and it's just like, damn, like he's a real person. Like it doesn't feel as it feels more tangible. Like I could get this. I could do this. Does that make
Mhm.
sense? Like
It does. I think there is like what do you call it? Like a facade that you kind of create in your own mind of what you think it's going
sure.
to be. And I think we have to remember, like, I mean, they're just people, man. We're all just
Yeah.
everyone's just they're just people. Even your idols, they're just dudes and women who are just you're just trying to live their life day to day like the rest of us. And there's that famous saying is that never meet your heroes, because I think
That can be true.
yeah, because we can kind of like have this image in our mind of them being, like I said, superhuman, something profound or something. And it's kind of you realize, like, now they're broke like me, are out there just trying to make it day to day with their own problems, like just like the rest of us, And it's kind of yeah, and it's good to know that at least in the comic book industry, it's just people who are just trying their best. And there's not many industries, I think, in the especially comic book industry, you have to be at your best to get to those type of levels. Like you've got to be able to draw at least. You've got to get at least get the technical stuff down first. You know what I mean? It's like there's no room for like blagging it in a comic book industry, I would say. I at least I don't think there is, are there? Am I wrong in saying that?
Well, there's things that come into levels of like I don't prefer. Sometimes they want it to look bad. It feels like so. What
Hmm.
happens is you get a lot of editors that come in and they're going to be the gatekeepers. That would be the same as the producers and stuff like that. And they may have a certain idea they want something to look. I feel like they do want it to look dumbed down sometimes. Like that's you can see it in cartoons. We went from that Ninja Turtle style that you grew up with, where it's like this amazing animation and action scenes, to this like lumpy, make it look as cheap and silly as possible. Like that became like the kind of the trend in
Hmm.
the early 2000s, mid 2000s. I'm not a fan of that. I think you should like be forced pushing it, like go for the best animation you can get. And that's why manga's so popular. So think about
Yeah.
that. Manga and anime are dominating. When you go to like a Barnes and Nobles, comic book section's getting smaller, manga
Hmm.
section is blowing up. So I think that's a factor as well.
I think there is something. I have seen that change you're talking about. A lot of shows that kind of started coming out in the past like decade or maybe decade and a half are like cart. I mean, they were always cartoons, but like I said, basic type of like flash animation cartoons. Like they've
Yep.
got that 2D esque to them. You know, minimum, the bodies don't really move. There's no motion. It's just the mouths move type of stuff. And you know what I mean? It's kind of, I've seen a lot of that animation. I think like Arch is a good example of just that type of thing. Or I don't know, there's hundreds of examples. But at the same time,
Okay.
anime, for example, like you said, I watched Attack on Titan, the anime for the manga of Attack on Titan. And like that's incredible. Like the artwork they
Right.
put into that thing. Every scene is like a watercolor. Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of an extreme piece of artwork, and the animation over the top of it is like intense. You know, cuts they do, and the drama they convey. But it's ridiculous. Like it's actually like a ridiculous. You can tell like they have not quite reached levels of degradation in the East when it comes to artwork yet, quite like we have. And we were talking about was it Ghibli earlier, and how people are doing like AI art Ghibli style, you know. And I think he wasn't he like that's like goes against everything he ever stood for in his life. Like I'm pretty sure.
Oh, I've seen memes with him, and he seems like so depressed and so like he's like, "This is a great place to die." I'm like, dude, I love Miyazaki. Like I eat it up. Like the more depressed he is, the more I like him. But you can clearly tell he's like a beautiful soul from the stuff that he puts out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. And but I did want to say this too. We're talking about the animation, how it got dumbed down. Dude, that's the same as the cars. That's the same as the buildings. Like it's all that same thing. I don't know what happened with us culturally. And yeah, for whatever reason in the East, dude, their stuff is, I mean, you could make an argument. Some of their stuff might be kind of dumbed down, but for the bulk of it, it's mind blowing. But there's passion
Maybe
to
it's
it.
more philosophically dumbed down than it used to be nowadays. But graphically
Right.
speaking, it's not that bad. I've seen some shocking anime though as well. I've seen some bad stuff. A lot of 3D anime started being created where they're
Hmm.
incorporating like graphics into it rather than hand drawn, and it's not as good. It's not right. You know what I mean? Like anime to me is hand drawn from start to finish. Like everything about it is you know it's got that hand drawn feel to it. So this new stuff I'm seeing again, I think there is definitely a dumbing down going on in the anime world, and I'm sure there's many people listening who follow my channel have so much to say about that because the people who love anime. You know what I mean? It's kind of like
Oh,
it's their passion, and I'm not like that. You know, I'm not going to use the derogatory W word to describe them, but I'm just not one of those guys. You know what I mean? Like I thought a few of them are interesting throughout the years, but like I think you're right. It's like I said, it's a dumbing down like making it less beautiful, making people not care as much about these things. I mean, we can even see a good example of this. It's a classic one I've seen memed a lot is McDonald's, for example, like how it used to
yeah.
be colorful and there was a play gym with like a ball pit and wacky, just wacky colors everywhere and wacky mascots and it was wild. It was crazy. It was for kids. It was colorful. It was red and it was yellow and it was bold, you know. And then you look at them now; they look like prisons. They look like somewhere you go to get your driver's license renewed. You know what I mean? They look ridiculous. They look like
Yeah.
gray and straight lines and it's like a gray brown color. I don't know what to describe that color as, but it's so just dull. There's nothing to there's so,
When was the last time you went in one? I went in one like a year ago, and it was the dude. It was a depressing environment. You don't talk to the person anymore. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
computers. Like it was rough, man.
Let's say no human interaction other than the people crammed next to you trying to use the machines to order for
Yeah.
it was I can't remember the last time I was in there, but it was a sad experience. I remember that much. And it's I don't know, it's that's just another example. Like they're just sucking the life out of everything. Everything and animation. Like but I think when it comes to true art and people wanting art, they can only get away with it for so long before the people are like, I want the real stuff back again. So they don't watch the new shows. They go back and watch the classics where the talent was there and they just rewatch them and they just kind of like make their own artwork based on the classics and like make their own avenues and their own studios and go against the mainstream. And it's kind of, they can't do it for long before people just say, nah, I don't want that anymore. And like I said, just do something else. And that's why I'm always hopeful when it comes to humanity's capacity to create. Like it's a God-given ability. God is a creator and we're made in his image. You know what I mean? And I don't think we stand for it for too long. We can only put up with grey, white walls and shades of grey for so long, you know. Before we're like, just give me some color, man. You know, just give me something interesting or give me something talent. Show me something amazing. It's kind of, I don't want to see what a robot can do. I want to see what a person can do. People will always have that. It's just always going to be there. And I think the controllers, whatever that nebulous group is kind of, they hate that. They truly hate that about us. It's kind of, no matter what they do to us, we make memes about it. You know what I mean? We have we make art based on the crap, and we laugh at them. Like, it's like we don't care, and it's kind of, they can never really destroy our spirit in a sense. And
I
I
don't
think
think I agree with that, and I think that the manga shows you that. Like when these things started to take a dive, that came they everybody found something else to go to. I
Mhm.
don't know what's going on in video game world. I don't mess with that anymore, but like I don't know, growing up, I hated mainstream music. I would never listen to something on the radio. I would have to go find it. I always wanted to be that dude, you know what I mean? Like, and that was where the better music was. So I think that's always going to kind of be there. It's
Mhm.
just, those guys are that's a tough. It's the same. That's the same artist. You know what I mean? The guy that's in the band. There's a band that I love called Murder by Death, and I think they ended up opening a pizza shop just to fund it, and they actually do a concert every year at the Stanley Hotel from The Shining, and
Oh,
it's like this big, awesome 3-day concert. But dude, they're so underground, but they were able to pull it off.
mhm.
And I think that's TikToks and stuff. I think that's where it's kind of the underground is probably where you'll see the resistance, I guess, what you want to call it.
The resistance will be televised. Is that what it's
Right,
saying? The
right.
revolution will be televised. Well, in a way, yeah. I think social media has been a very useful tool for us as underground creatives and kind of, like I say, conspiracy theorists and going against societal norms and ideas and agendas. And it's like all things can be worked for good by God, as far as I'm concerned. And like
Yeah.
I think these social medias have been designed to make them addictive, in many ways. And if we can game that against them and make the truth addictive, then great, let's do that. Let's play the algorithm and get people addicted to learning more truth stuff. I mean, that's using a tool against them in a way. And I think we're doing that. I think people like yourself are going to start doing that, especially with your own like endeavors and comic books. You've got yourself to a position now where you've played the game long enough that you can, like I said, start doing your own thing, and you have an avenue to support yourself on the side. Which in this world, you just got to do it, man. You got to play the game. Unfortunately, like
Yeah.
yeah, you're of the
But there's
world.
like
Yeah,
I will say this, there's beauty in that, and I think you learn a lot in that. So I think it's good for if you're a young artist or whatever, whatever your skill is. Yeah, it can be done. Other people have done it. And it's way cooler that you can just go, I can sit here and do this today. You know what I mean? Like or you can do the list of shows you have, which is crazy. You know what I mean? Like it always seems like you're doing an interview. Could you
I
even
am.
imagine that? Like, yeah, dude, it's awesome though. Like, man, would you trade that for anything?
Not at all. No, no. This is
Right,
this is and I plan on making it bigger and creating more safety nets as far everywhere I can, so I
right.
can never be taken away. You know what I mean? That's the aim, isn't it? So everything I do is on podcast format as well, and all those avenues as well as YouTube. And like I've got my book. I'm a publisher. I publish my own work now on Amazon. So it's kind of you've got to stretch yourself thin to try and create a foundation, and it's hard work, but it's like it's good work. Like I love it. I don't care if it's hard. I want to do it. I'm happy doing it. And I think I'm blessed. I'm lucky. Not lucky. I'm blessed. This is all thanks to him. And I'm thankful every day for what I get to do. And I think all people need out there, creatives, there are role models or examples that it's possible. Just do it. Just try your best and do what you can. And hopefully, our conversation here today will have done that for some people. That's what I'm hoping. And that's what I'm hoping this new understanding creativity channel can be for people, not just explorations of the occult in art or scathing reviews of terrible modern art that's just degrading beauty standards, but also just artists talking to each other and sharing their stories and being examples for others. And I think you've been a great example for today, Tim. Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm glad you let me come on. So thank you. And the
No
new
problem.
logo is awesome. That was the other thing that really impressed me. I
Yeah, you
love it.
like that one. Yeah. That was I went through a few really bad ideas before I got to that one. I'm not gonna lie, but I tried to overcomplicate it, and then I realized less is way more. I always have to come back to that. Like less is more. It's always me on it, so
Absolutely.
I kept it simple. But I'm glad you like it. Thanks for that. And before we leave, do you want to just let anybody know where they can find all your work? And if you want to maybe plug anything at all, any of your work, people can buy your work as well, where they can find anything. This is your chance, so go for it.
Yeah, so like I said, I have the book out, Time Kids. It's on Amazon, it's on Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, all that kind of stuff. Look up Time Kids Laddie, because if you don't, you're gonna end up with like clocks for kids and stuff like that. I didn't do as good a branding as Nephilim look like clowns. Um where you're not gonna have any kind of cross pollination,
Well,
but
I'm not in Barnes and Noble, so you're beating me there. I'll say that
no,
much.
but like yeah, just add Lattie at the end, Lattie, and you'll be able to find it. And yeah, if you want to follow, I post on Instagram and social media all the time. Team Lattie. Always whatever I'm working on in my process.
Fantastic. I'll leave all the links in the description of this video. So make sure to subscribe to this guy, follow him, buy his book as well. Show some support for everyone in the community. And yeah, I'll definitely have you back on sometime again in the future, Tim, if you're willing.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
Good stuff. Right. Thanks for doing this, and God bless.